Hey everyone, Lou Bassinis here, President and Chief Market Strategist at MDB Capital. I am thrilled today to be able to join you with two titans of industry that I've looked up to for much of my career. I've learned a tremendous amount from them and have always watched with admiration at how innovative and knowledgeable they've been. So, with that being said, I want to bring them into the conversation right now. I'm being joined today by Rick Rule and Frank Trotter. It's good to see you, gentlemen.
Lou, pleasure to be with
Cool.
you.
It's a wonderful to see you.
Yeah, listen, before we get into it, today I really want to talk about the newest venture that you're up to at Battle Bank. What's going on exactly, why it's important, and why it matters to the audience at large here. But before we do that, I don't look good in an orange jumpsuit, so I got to get some disclaimers out of the way. And I know that you may have to make some disclaimers as well. So, because I am regulated by FINRA, I have to tell you, I do not have any investment in Battle Bank currently. Our firm doesn't do any investment banking for them. And this is not a recommendation to buy or sell anything from my side. I would say from the banking side, you need to know that the bank, we're going to be speaking as if the bank is up and running right now. That is not the case. It's not open for deposits yet. We are going to be talking about a potential investment that involves meaningful risk, just like any investment. You need to do your own due diligence if that's something you consider. And then I want to turn it over to you two if I missed any important disclosures here or any conflicts that people need to be aware of.
I think you've covered it pretty well, Lou. We're hopefully getting up and running shortly, but we're not open yet, and it's definitely in a startup phase. But we're very excited about the opportunity.
All right. Well, great. Let's do that. Let's jump right in then. So, what exactly is going on? What is Battle Bank? You two gentlemen do not need to be working anymore, but here you are again at the startup phase, digging in again to launch another voyage, an adventure. What exactly is it for the audience here?
Well, Battle Bank really is a community bank, but it's a community, not sort of in a geographic sense, but it's a community of clients and investors nationwide, and both US and Canada. And these individuals have a different view of life, typically contrarian, think for themselves, self-directed investors. Perhaps they do use a registered investment advisor or broker, but most of the time they like to hear and think and then invest on their own. And we believe we're going to be able to provide great opportunities for them, both for simple things like current cash, but also some broader investing opportunities and lending and borrowing opportunities. And so we really started Battle Bank in part because we have great experience after forming Everbank 20 years ago, 24 years ago to be precise. And so we're really building on that experience and opening Battle Bank in this new era of the internet and new era of national banking. And it's great because the big box banks continue to provide almost no value, charge high fees, and provide poor customer service. I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, Rick, but
yeah. No one wants to deal with that. I'll jump in here and say that I remember from the early days being in the publishing business with both of you. I would sneak in to listen and watch Rick masterfully handle questions, but he had this saying: "You're either contrarian or a victim." You mentioned it. The community is full of contrarians, right? So that makes anyone that's at the big bulge bracket banks victims of a bad model. So, Rick, can you explain from your vantage point, always being a lifelong contrarian, what's different about Battle Bank? And how how you've done it before at Everbank, and now you're looking to do it again at Battle Bank.
Well, and in effect, you did it at Agora. I mean, Agora became one of the largest publishing companies in the world because it wasn't Dow Jones and it wasn't CNBC. There's a commonality between the three of us. But let's go back to your question. I've been fairly successful in life. I have relationships with 4 big box banks. And the best I can say is that I'm sullen, but not yet mutinous. I ought to be delighted, but I'm not. And Lou, despite the fact that you're somewhat younger than me, you've been successful too. I won't ask you to insult your current bank. I would only ask the audience to consider whether they're satisfied with their existing banking relationships. If the answer to that is no, which I suspect in 90% of the case, one can see the entrepreneurial opportunity that Frank and I see. I've been lucky enough in my life, as has Frank, to build several multi-thousand constituent businesses. The Sprott physical business is now a $30 billion business with 275,000 customers. Frank at Battle Bank built a multi-constituent business, $28 billion in AUM with over 200,000 customers. And Agora built a multi-million customer business by identifying a need in the market that wasn't being filled at all and addressing the need and meeting customer expectation. That's what we're about. Do I need to do a new bank at age 71, particularly given that I have a good portfolio of community banks now? No. Banking is a wonderful business, and there is a huge market niche out there to serve. And I can't help myself, Lou.
Listen, it's like the mob, you try and get out and you can't. You thought you were out. You're getting back into it. So, I mean, let's talk about this a little bit. You use the word community bank, and I think in some listeners' mind, that may make them think it's small. It doesn't have the same offerings as a larger bank that they've gotten used to, or the same protections. None of that is true, though, correct?
Well, I would argue that a little bit of it is true. We're going to focus on what we do well. I can't imagine trying to be Chase, as an example, and trying to lend to 1,000 different industries. How on earth can you understand 1,000 different industries? We want to be simple. Frank will tell you, we're not going to have 16 savings products, most of which are designed to confuse you and pay no interest. We're going to have one, a high yield deposit that, by the way, you could write checks against. So yes, we will be simpler than the big banks. And in fact, we won't offer services if we're not competitive, which is to say, if we don't have anything to bring to market, we're not going to bring it to market. But we've proven in a variety of businesses, including banking, that we service a constituency that needs our services well. Frank?
And I think when you talk about community, I think we've all learned in the internet age that community necessarily is not necessarily defined by geography. Typical community bank, it's draw a circle around the building and call on everybody in that neighborhood. Not really the way we like to do things. We prefer to go out across the country and across Canada to people who are interested in earning more on their money, investing in other items that are not necessarily available at their typical bank. And in particular, getting great service. Rick, with his sullen but not yet mutinous point, one of the things we're really able to do is concentrate client service. Now, if I had to staff JP Morgan Chase's 5,000 branches, I would lose my mind. I like to have a simple client service group of highly experienced people who love to come in and talk to clients all day long. They've done the transaction before. Perhaps they were a branch manager before in their prior life. Perhaps they were somebody in the lobby helping clients all day long. But they've done this so many times, and they're able to answer the questions. And they also know to say, "I don't know. I'll get back to you." They're not reading off a script, and in 100% of the cases, they're very easy to understand. So we feel that the community is based on people who are interested in getting better value, investing more broadly, in borrowing against assets that they want to hold on to, and getting great client service. And I think that just defines a different way to do banking.
No, it definitely is. And I have to give you both credit for your previous building at Everbank, because I remember you did things that were innovative, right? Banking is not necessarily considered innovative, like just plain vanilla banking, deposits and loans. But you were doing some very innovative things at Everbank, but you were focusing in areas that you knew well. So to Rick's point, do what you know well and can understand well. Don't try and be everything to everyone. So let's use that as a transition into specifically what are the types of products that you're going to start offering at Battle Bank that would be, attractive to our listeners.
Well, let's kick off with that high yield cash account. It's kind of funny to consider that innovative, but as Rick pointed out, most of the big box banks have a myriad of just really confusing products that leading you down the wrong pathways. Our high yield
Well,
cash account is
it's
a single
innovative
account.
because you're not being greedy, right? It's innovative because you as the bank are not being greedy. That's the innovation.
That's probably a fair way to put it. And it's a single account. Today that
Yeah.
might be at 440 as an example. Today the big box banks are paying 0.02 to 0.05 on their checking account and about 45 basis points on savings. This would be about 440. And if you want to use it as a piggy bank for savings, fantastic. If you want to write checks, do online bill pay, debit card, great. We really don't care. And one of the tricks of a big box bank is to have a low yield checking account, a slightly higher yield savings account, and try to force you to put all your money in that checking account. We're happy to have you put it in that checking account. We'll pay you for that. So it's a high value account, low fee account, and we'll be very explicit about fees. So that's part one. Part two is we'll allow you to look across the globe. We'll have deposit accounts, money market deposit accounts, and CDs denominated in about 18 different foreign currencies. Now, can be part of a diversified investment portfolio that you can then select. If you want to buy euros, fantastic. Norwegian krone, great. New Zealand dollars, Australian dollars, Chinese renminbi. A lot of people want to diversify into these currencies, and there really is very limited ability to do so. We'll also be dealing in non-FDIC insured precious metals. So many of our clients are interested in gold and silver and platinum and palladium. And we've been in that business since the mid 1980s. We understand it. We have people on the desk that can help you understand what you might do to achieve your objectives. And we'll either hold that for you in storage through publicly traded storage and custody facilities, or we'll ship it to your door. It's your choice. Finally, on the deposit side, there is the market index deposits. Principal protected typically, market rate of return on top of that. And that's really for something where you have a belief in it, but maybe you're a little bit nervous. Lou, I know you used to recommend some of these back in the publishing days. And it's because you had a viewpoint on the market, but if you're not 100% sure, you don't want to go in with both arms, both legs. And then finally, we really believe your retirement account should be your retirement account. If you go to a Schwab or a Fidelity or a Vanguard, they're going to be happy to sell you some mutual funds, stocks and bonds, and maybe you end up with a 60-40, 70-30 portfolio. Well, that's great. However, there are other things that are eligible in IRAs. You might want to do income producing properties. That's perfectly good, fine with us. You might want to open a brokerage account and do other things. You might want to do crypto. You might want to make hard money loans. All of these things are eligible items under the statutory IRA laws. And we think you should be able to make those choices on your own. And that's also available for solo 401ks. A lot of us have gig jobs on the side, and a lot of us are sole proprietors. This allows you to shelter income and then make the investments that you choose to make, not be just a simple consumer of the financial supermarkets. So those are all the different things on the deposit side. And then sort of flipping over to the other side, we found that people really want liquidity for their precious metals. We mentioned that we have a lot of folks that love gold, silver, and other precious metals. They don't like to sell them. They feel this is a good long-term asset to hold. But sometimes you need liquidity. If you want to make another investment, maybe you want to buy more metals, or maybe you want to put a deck on the back of the house. All of that's great. We'll be providing a facility for you to be able to borrow against your precious metals, much like a margin loan at a broker dealer. And I think this has really been attractive to our people that are on our wait list. We survey those folks a couple times a month. And many of our wait list people have said, yes, I'd like to have that facility available to me to have liquidity for my precious metals so I can hold them. You were on CNBC the other day, Lou, talking about inflation. Precious metals are a great inflation hedge. You don't want to get out of them. So let's get some liquidity in them and allow you to do other things with some of that money, but hold that value consistently for the long run.
Yeah. So across the balance, I mean, if I look at the product lineup, you're really giving your customers the freedom to do the things that they want to do without any onerous fees, without having to do it at a specialized bank for one part and then do the others elsewhere. You're doing it all under one house, but really putting the choice back into the customer's hand. Is that accurate? And then where did that philosophy come from as you think about putting Battle Bank together?
Well, I think the novelty of you actually having choices in the world is an interesting one. We kind of feel that that's core to everybody's financial freedom, and we have always been a bit perplexed when we look at some of the other institutions not allowing people to do things. We thank them every day. We thank them every day when we were running EverBank because we were the ones that were in the market, and we plan to thank them every day when we're running Battle Bank. As long as the big box banks, which control sort of something north of 85% of the deposits in the United States, are paying nothing, we are happy to take on people that are finally tired of doing that. And at that point, you can no longer have to be sullen, but you can be mutinous, and then you can come over to Battle Bank.
Yeah, and then
Lou,
maybe Rick, we talked. Go ahead.
I've been a community bank investor for, I don't know, 45 years. And I've invested in some big banks too. They're actually pretty good businesses if they're well run, which is the caveat. But I think that we bring a few more things to depositors, to borrowers, and to investors. The first of which is this here's our branch. I have a branch with my big box bank, and I walk in there, and there's a very nice woman. I mean, she really, truly is a very nice woman running the bank. She's bilingual in 2 languages. She doesn't know much about banking in either language, which is a problem for me. When I look at that bank's income statement, I see that their branch bank networks cost them 145 basis points, almost 1.5%. By eliminating that at EverBank and now Battle Bank, Frank has 145 basis points left over to provide better customer service, to pay top quartile deposit rates, to make more intelligent loans. The second thing that I think that Battle Bank has to offer, that EverBank offered, was sanity-based banking. By sanity-based banking, I mean that you don't fund 8 or 10-year assets with overnight deposits. You don't engage in the same activity that caused the bankruptcy of the U.S. savings and loan industry, the bankruptcy of Silicon Valley Bank, the bankruptcy of First Republic Bank. There is no requirement that bankers be stupid. No requirement whatsoever. Beyond that, the idea that we simply do what we can do well, that we, as an example, maybe use derivatives to hedge interest rate liabilities. But the idea that we would be counterparties on $1 trillion worth of derivatives in order to get a couple hundred basis points as guarantors is worse than insane. It isn't picking up quarters in front of steamrollers. It's picking up pennies in front of steamrollers. Believe me, believe me, Lou, I have no interest in being stupid. I want to see
Yeah.
Battle Bank be the type of community bank that I've been able to invest in other places for years. Focused, disciplined, simple, smart,
Yeah.
close to the customer. That's
Sane.
all. That's why I call it a sanity-based bank.
Yeah, yeah, sensible as well. Let's talk about we had another conversation not long ago where you said conflicts of interest are great selling points, and I do need to bring it up for the audience that you are an investor in Battle Bank. So you do have, you said, as you mentioned, 45 years of investing in community banks. Explain to them your conflict here, why you're happily conflicted, and what you see as the opportunity for Battle Bank. I mean, I don't want to let Frank brag about himself. We'll brag about him because you've done this once before with EverBank, going from 0 to 28 billion. You've got another investor in here. So Rick, you tell us why it is you're a meaningful investor.
I've been a private lender most of my life. That is, since I've been solvent myself. And banking is a really good business. I used to describe myself as a used money salesman. Um, you have to know something about the loans that you're underwriting. That's really important. But if you think about the basic business of banking, where if you're intelligent, you run about 10 to 1 leverage. If you're unintelligent, you run something like 12 to 1 leverage. You make loans based on good collateral and you get paid back. the basic arithmetic around using your balance sheet and your intelligence to mobilize other people's money, people that have lives that don't want to do it for themselves, is a stupendously good business. But people take it to illogical extremes. They take it to absolutely idiotic extremes. They take underwriting risk. They try to cheat their customers on deposits. Uh, they take time spread risks. If you play banking the way Ohio State used to play football, with a focus on blocking and tackling, it's a stupendous business. Conflicts of interest, yes, too. My wife, in particular, hates our current depository relationships with other banks. And she bothers me no end to have my money under Frank's stewardship, where we can do things like make a wire without them screwing it up. Uh, I would like to end up being a 9.9% shareholder of the bank because I consider the bank to be really an intelligently leveraged bond portfolio where I help underwrite the loans rather than consign that to my friends on Wall Street, who I have known for far too long to trust them.
No offense taken, seeing that I'm on Wall Street now. I've jumped the fence onto the traditional side. So I don't know if that
Well,
means I've lost my sensibility or sanity or what, but no offense taken.
I've known some very bright Wall Streeters. I regard myself as having been one. There's no requirement that you'd be a jerk to be on Wall Street. No requirement whatsoever. It's just, the preponderance.
Yeah. So let's talk about where we're at now, right? So for our listeners, there's multiple ways that they can be involved. So where are you at in terms of standing up the banking operations so you can open the doors? And then also concurrently, you're in the middle of a fundraise and there is an opportunity for accredited investors to consider participating. So if we could kind of, maybe you want to split the difference here. One of you handles one handles the other. So let people know where you're at.
Well, I'll talk about where we are in the process. We have our conditional approval from our primary regulator, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, and I always have to slow down when I say that, the OCC. And they're our primary regulator. We have our application, of course, is with the FDIC. They've completed their field exam, and we've been told by the FDIC that report is now on the desk in Washington, D.C., and when they choose to respond to that, they, in theory, should issue us an insurance certificate. It's been a long process, and we just have to acknowledge that. It's been rather longer than we probably thought at the beginning, but hopefully we're coming to the end of that. Obviously, we're considering all sorts of other alternatives at all times, but we're just at this point awaiting final word from the FDIC, at which point we can top off the final capital raise and open the doors. In terms of the convertible note offering, and I know Rick will want to enhance this, Battle Financial Inc., who's our prospective holding company, is offering convertible notes that will ultimately help to finance the creation and launch of Battle Bank. You can go to battlebank.com/invest to take a look at all the details. I'll just be brief with a couple of the items. There's, of course, an offering memorandum and all sorts of material there that you'll be required to go through. And of course, you have to certify yourself that you're an accredited investor, but we'll also do an independent certification of that. The notes pay 7% interest, and they will convert at the lower of $550 per share, which was the price of our last equity offering. Or if it's a down round, you get to have that price. So you have price protection on the upside, and you have price protection on the downside. This is a $14.75 million raise. We're getting great response on it so far, and we expect we'd love to have people who are both shareholders and depositors. We're really, again, back to the concept of community. Would love to have everybody along for the journey. I'm certainly an investor. Rick is obviously an investor. We have quite a few other great investors, and we'd love to welcome other accredited investors into this family.
Lou, I'd like to end up at 9.9% of the ultimate bank, which means I'll be taking somewhat more than 10% of this round. The idea that I get 7% while I wait, given some of the alternatives I have for my own cash, is not a bad outcome. But I
Yeah.
really want to reiterate what Frank had to say. My preference would be that this bank was owned by its customers and employees, both its depositors and its borrowers. The idea of creating a community like a bank is sort of the model, I suspect, that made America great. You know, shareholder owned corporations where many of the people who worked in the corporations were shareholders. That really truly is the model of capitalism that I think, first of all, is the correct model from a moral point of view, but equally importantly, it's the correct model from a financial point of view. I don't think that Frank wants to work for a bunch of soulless hedge funds whose real motivation is the next quarter. I think he wants to work for a community that wants to build a bank that is customer focused, employee centric, uh, and successful for owners. And I think we have the opportunity to do exactly that. Uh, People need to understand too that while banking is a spectacular business, there are real risks beyond those which the regulators require you to disclose. This is just common sense. Starting a business
Yeah.
entails risk. Going into the fray, and by the way, I'm really eager to do this, going into the fray against the big box banks and the other community banks with some of the advantages that they have involves some risk too. I can't wait to incur those risks. Don't get me wrong. I'm really looking forward to the fight. But the fact that I'm looking forward to it doesn't mean that investors should look forward to it. Investors need to be cognizant of what it is that we're attempting to do, what the rewards will be should we succeed, which I believe we will, and what the risks are if we don't.
Yeah. I mean, look at the last time I think that you said that you started at Everbank 24 years ago, Frank. Is that how long ago
Yep.
it was?
Yep.
So in 24 years, I mean, you had a wonderful exit there. So for people that are considering maybe participating and being a community member on both sides, as a depositor and as a shareholder, I mean, do you see the landscape and the opportunity as big as it was back then, right now, to do the same thing, or has it increased?
In a lot of ways, the opportunities increase because, as we've mentioned a number of times on here, the big box banks just can't get past providing value to clients and not charging high fees. And they
Yeah,
also aren't providing all those opportunities to depositors and other clients. And I think, one of the things, we'd love to have you as an investor or individuals as an investor. But if you want to be a depositor, just come to battlebank.com and join the wait list. One of the things that we like to talk about is when we started Everbank 24 years ago, we had exactly 0 people on the wait list. We did our first marketing piece, which was a direct mail piece, and we got 0 customers for that. Now it was the
fire that
last direct mail
copywriter. That was a
marketing.
bad copywriter.
That was the last direct mail piece we did, and of course we turned it around with our next opportunity and grew it very effectively. Today we have over 13,000 people on the wait list. That is a stunning and wonderful endorsement by people that we don't control. These are not shareholders, these are not employees. These are individuals who have come to us and said, I would really like to bank with Battle Bank. And this really gives all of us on the team great confidence that this is going to be a very successful operation. Caveat, of course, it's a startup, and there are risks, significant risks involved, which you can look at in the offering memorandum. But if you want to be on both sides of this, of course, you can come to battlebank.com/invest, review the material, and if you choose, join us in the capital side as well. We'd love to have everybody in the community doing this. And Rick's right. I would prefer not to have a whole pack of the masters of the universe private equity funds. Don't mind if they actually do
No,
write a check from time to time, but I would just assume they don't have to call 5 times a week asking me how I'm going to
no.
get a
Listen,
penny a
I mean,
share more.
This is why I appreciate you guys, because I came over to the banking side because we shun those same institutions as well. We have a community of investors. So I think you're putting your finger again on something that resonates, right? People want to be in community with like-minded citizens doing sensible things with attractive options to earn a reasonable and fair return on their investments and on their capital. So I really want to thank you both for your time today. Is there anything else you want to leave before I wrap us up here and provide everyone one more time the information where they can go for the information? Anything you two want to say to audience members before we depart?
Rick, you want to kick that off?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easy. If for any reason you aren't thrilled with your current bank, which is everybody listening to this video, check out Battle Bank. If you followed my work and enjoyed it in natural resources or precious metals at Sprott, there's 275,000 of you. I'd love to serve you again. If you were part of the community at Everbank, another 200 and something thousand, and enjoyed intelligent deposit products and sensible mortgage services, the same team that did it for you there is back again as Battle Bank. If you have enjoyed the process of being an Agora subscriber for the last 30 years, getting innovative financial advice that you didn't get from mainstream media, you are the community that we're talking to. It's you. If you think it's appropriate for you, join us, own us, borrow from us. But whatever you do, check us out. Let us battle for your business.
We're here to
Well
battle for
said. I
better
don't think I can
banking.
put it.
I don't think that I could say it any better than Rick just topped it off there. We're excited to get out the door. We are excited to have you join the wait list. And we'd be excited if you choose to make an investment in Battle Financial.
Listen, I want to thank you both for making time today so that we could go into these topics, explore what you're up to. And again, it's great just to reconnect and see that you're doing more of what you've always done, being innovative, putting the customer, the client, the subscriber, however you categorize it, first and foremost, and putting customer service at the top too. I think that's something that always distinguished both of you from the rest of our colleagues and peers and competitors. So again, gentlemen, thank you both for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Lou.
For everyone listening, I want to thank you as well for taking the time to just engage in this conversation with us. As you've heard time and time again here from me, the endorsement that these are just two gentlemen that have their finger on what is right and what makes sense in finance and in banking. So as they both expressed, I know it was their deep wish that you'd consider being a part of their community that they're building, not defined by geography, but by philosophy and a common interest financially. So you can do that in one of two ways. The first is to become a bank depositor or a customer. And you can do that by going to battlebank.com and joining about 13,000 other people on the waiting list. Rest assured, as soon as the regulatory hassle is through and approval is secured, that they will reach out to you promptly to allow you to let you know how to become an official customer. And then for those of you that would like to also consider being an investor, if you're an accredited investor, I encourage you to go to battlebank.com/invest. As Frank and Rick both laid out, there is all the offering memorandums, the risks, the disclosures, and all the information that you would need to consider making an investment. So again, from the three of us, I want to thank you again for your time. And we just hope that you would consider going to battlebank.com. Thanks again.